Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Eric Tilson Show, where we cover everything on the Tundra with North Greene football. As always, I'm joined here with Huskies head coach Eric Tilson. Coach, how you doing this fine evening?
Doing better this week.
Back for week 2. Got a dub this week that we have to talk about. Traveled up to Virginia, crossed that state line. Well, I guess you didn't go through the mountains. I went through the mountains of Gate City Way.
We went around.
You went around to Abington, but either way, we both showed up. We both were able to witness North Greene get their first win of the year. You had a lot of joy after the game. It was a 36-0 win. Got a little wet towards the end of it. Game got called with about 5 minutes and something left. I think it was 5:57 left in the third. Talk about how much of a thrill it was to see your boys play that well in the first half and then carry out that win.
I mean, the goal every week is go out and win. So we accomplished that. And then number 2 is execution. And we executed about as well as we could have. So we're talking about corrections this weekend with the coaching staff, and it's like we really don't have many. We just went out and did our job pretty well. We got some minor details we can adjust and get better. But for the most part, our kids went out and played the game plan really well. I was a little worried there before the game because it's about everything that could have gone wrong before the game went wrong. Of course, having trouble finding buses to be able to leave on time. Our bus driver got here as fast as they could. He did a great job with that. So we arrived about 30 minutes later than we wanted to. Then everything was just jam-packed. The lock for our trailer wouldn't come open, so we had to break the lock. And then equipment wasn't correct. I mean, it just, you imagine it went wrong, and then our warm-up was awful. So I was sitting there like, oh man, I hope we get it together. Then I told the kids, I was like, it doesn't matter what has happened so far. It doesn't matter how well we practice this week. It doesn't matter how well you played next week. Like, what matters is what's happening right now. And we've kind of been living by that attitude, is focus on what's happening now. Don't look forward. Don't look back. Focus on now. And they did a great job of that, just each play. And it helps when you got some really good players who go out and make plays. It really got started defensively when we got some big stops. Got the ball back, and then Colton Robbins really opened it up with that screen. And then went down, and that led to our first score. And kind of like what we talked about last week, you get that first one, then then the offense just relaxes.
Just opened up too.
It just relaxes, and really got to commend Thomas Darnell moving to that quarterback slot. A lot of pressure on him, and he said he was really nervous after that first play, but after that he just settled in, and he did a very good job for us. And he was a big reason why our offense was successful, because he doesn't have to get the stats. He's like the point guard of our offense, and he just directs the ball to where it needs to go, and he did a really good job of that. I mean, you can tell with 6 of 9 passing for 113 yards, and just make sure the ball is where it's supposed to. Opened up our run game because he's supposed to read guys, and he reads it well enough that linebacker holds for just a second for us to be able to run Yeshua or Jake. So he did a really good job with that.
Thomas, I want to shout out his stats real quick. 5 for 8, 113 yards and a touchdown, I think is what you had. Colton had that big, I think, 52-yard catch also that opened it up for you. And we had talked about it in the written preview at the beginning of the season, that Colton gives you that dynamic kind of double-edged sword where he can block and also go out and catch a pass, because he does so well on the line blocking, playing tight end, and also goes out and catches screen passes like that and has the speed to take it 50 yards upfield. Thomas, great job in his first start at quarterback too. I was confused, as you probably saw on Twitter, where I didn't even know that was him at quarterback, and I didn't even realize that it was him throwing to Grayson. Grayson caught a touchdown too. It was a great night for the offense. Jake, of course, had an amazing night, and he really didn't even get that many touches on offense. It was just when he had the ball, he made the most of his opportunities.
I went and looked today. He had 5 touches on offense for 84 yards. That's a 16.8 yards per carry.
And the 2 touchdowns were, I think, 4 yards and 7 yards.
Yes.
So he really didn't have those huge chunk plays to get to the end zone. But if you look at the other 3 plays he had, they were big plays.
They were very big. And plus he had the big
pick six,
which was huge. And that's a credit to a lot of guys around. You talk about Colton Robbins. We've been playing him out of position on defense. Just out of necessity. We had to move him from the defensive line back. He did a great job at linebacker, and And now we've got some kids around him, so we were able to move him back down to defensive line where he excels the most at, and he did a great job. I mean, he had 4 quarterback pressures, multiple tackle for losses. I got the stuff right here. He had 3 tackles for losses. So I mean that's a pretty big night. Kind of frees up everybody else when your defense line's making the plays like he is. So that was nice to be able to do that. But that's a credit to our other kids behind him to be able to put him up at the defensive line. Leon Johnson played phenomenally as a freshman, and the Weems twins both played really well defensively, which allows us to be able to do stuff like that.
One player that I was impressed with, too, that I talked about with you after the game was Dash, because he had 2 huge pass breakups, one on 4th down that ended up being a turnover on downs, and I think you scored on that next possession also. And then he had a big pass breakup, I think, on 2nd down on the drive where they got down into the red zone, which would have been a first down or right at the yard marker. So he had 2 huge pass breakups for you, and he's a name that you're probably going to see shine a lot on defense this year.
He's been kind of fighting for that spot. Another one of those kids that's back there that allows us to move some guys, put more speed on the field, and he did really well, especially in coverage. And he's not afraid to lay his shoulder into somebody, which he did, and it caused a couple breakups. So we've been really pleased with his performance on Friday. So it allowed us to move one of the twins up to play linebacker this week, which allowed us to move Colton up. So it kind of goes all hand in hand. So that was very helpful with his play, and he got in on some tackles. He had 3 assists, and then 2 big hits that caused those pass breakups.
And I think we need to talk about the defense as a whole also, because you pitched the shutout, but also that 4th down stop on the goal line. They had moved it up all the way to the 1-yard line, had 4 plays within the 5-yard line, and you were able to stop them every single play and force a turnover on downs, which we know for a fact on that next drive did result in a touchdown.
Yeah. I give credit to our defense coordinator making some big adjustments. He called a movement on the 2nd or the 3rd play that caused a tackle for loss. Yeshua was able to come inside, and typically he's an outside player, but he was blitzing the B gap, came untouched, and tackled the ball about 2-yard line. Then the 3rd play, the ball gets outside of our containment, and Darnell comes up and lays one of the biggest hits of his career and actually forces the ball out. They recover it, but he forces the ball out and stops them on like the 1-inch yard line. And we call timeout. Coach T changes defenses. We put more beef in there and plugged up every single gap. And we told our guys, it's like, hey, if we jump off sides, it doesn't matter because they're going to move literally half an inch. So you time the snap, jump off sides. Who cares? Because we'll keep playing it over and over again. They timed it and they were in the backfield barely before the ball got to the quarterback. Was able to get a big play, and then the next play, Yeshua takes it up the sideline. I don't even remember the play because I was busy with the helmet issue.
It was like 31. It was like 31, 25 yards, something like that.
Yeah, which is huge because typically when you're backed up, the only goal we have offensively is get 1 first down and kick it because that gives us some space to do it. So like we're not even expecting to go down and score. We're just trying to get 1 first down to help protect our defense a little bit. Nope, our offense goes down and scores on that drive.
And Yeshua, too, incredible night for him. We're used to him having those great nights, 96 yards and a touchdown. He had that first touchdown for you and had that big play to back you out of your own end zone. And if I remember correctly, I think he had another big play following that got you another big first down. So he got probably half of his yardage on that one drive.
Yes, he did a great job, and a lot of his successes. He runs hard, and he's a little more patient this week, allowing the play to develop, and then once that hole opened, he sprinted right through it. So they give some credit. Now, that one backed up, he made a play on it. He actually cut that back all the way backside. He saw some color, and he just cut it back, and he did things, what 3 does.
Yeah.
He just did things that number 3 does. But a lot of our success in run game, we moved Christian Cogdell to tight end, and he did exactly what we needed to fix our run game. So he really anchored down that tight end slot, and he's blocking down on one of their best players, number 88, and he did a great job with that, which is why our off tackle run game was so successful, and a lot of that had to do with him.
Wanted to talk one more thing before we go into break, and that's Coach Vaughn. He came in. He's your new offensive coordinator this year, and we had kind of talked about it last week and during our written preview how he is from Castlewood, and that was his old stomping ground. So kind of a sentimental victory for him for his first victory on the Husky staff being on the old field that he used to coach on.
He coached there in, I want to say 18, 19, 20. In the COVID year. They actually played in the spring of 21 that year.
That's right, Virginia did play after.
So they didn't play in the fall of 20. But that was good for him because he wanted to come do a impressive showing, and he did. So we're definitely happy to have him.
What a weird time that was where you had football like 3 straight semesters.
Yep.
You had fall of 20, spring of 21, then fall of 21 again.
Now we were watching the first time we played Castlewood in 21. We're watching that spring film. We're like, man, this offense is something else because that was single wing stuff, and they were really good on offense, and like we were petrified. So like, man, how are we gonna stop them? And then he actually wasn't there during the 21 season, so he wasn't coaching there. So it's like a sigh of relief.
Yeah.
So he made a big difference in their success they had, and he's definitely making a difference here.
We had mentioned it on the Pizza and Saturday Morning Kickoff show. Thank you for texting in and being our fact checker. But the last time the Huskies had a shutout was 2012 against Hancock County. I actually had a few shutouts that year.
Yeah, they were pretty good that year.
Yeah. Thank you to Drew Hall for fact checking that day also. He was the one who ended up telling us you had 3 shutouts that year, I think.
Yeah. That's back in Coach Weems'
Correct.
era. Coach Bailey, who's on both of those guys are on our staff.
And I don't know if this will be out before or after, but I'll just go ahead and say it anyway. I think it's safe to say Jake Duffy.
Yeah,
Player of the week.
I would imagine that.
Yes. That was a pretty easy decision to come upon whenever you have 2 offensive touchdowns and a pick 6 and you play well on both sides of the ball. Pretty easy decision, but that's about all we've got on the recap. Celebrating a 36-0 win over Castlewood this week. Hoping to carry that momentum into week 3 now.
Yep.
Got a home game for your first regional opponent. We'll go ahead and get that in the second half of this video, but we got to take a short break first. So we'll be right back after these commercials on Grassroots Media.
Pizza, pancakes, or donuts. The Davy Crockett Travel Center in Baileyton has the cure for all your cravings. While you're there, shop our general store for souvenirs, gifts, and cellular accessories. In a hurry, grab a cold drink and a hot dog to go. Check us out on Facebook and come to Baileyton.
At Corner Pond, the friendly and knowledgeable staff has the experience necessary to help you out regardless the need. Have an item of value you'd like to pawn or sell? Corner Pond can help. They pawn numerous items of value, including firearms, tools, ammunition, silver, coins, and much more. When you walk through their doors, you'll find well-stocked shelves full of electronics, gaming systems, fishing and hunting equipment, car audio and accessories. And don't forget about the room full of guitars and basses and amplifiers, or their outside lawn and garden equipment. Corner Pond is a case knife dealer and carries numerous used knives as well. Stop by and let the friendly staff at Corner Pond help you today at 432 East Bernard Avenue, Greenville, Tennessee.
Welcome back to Grassroots Media, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Eric Tilson Show, where we cover everything on the Tundra with the North Greene football team. As always, I'm joined here with Huskies head coach Eric Tilson. So you've got an important matchup this week. It's your first region game of the season. You get Jellico back here for the second year in a row. They traveled here last year, and you were able to knock them off for the win that pushed you into the playoffs. Looking to carry out that same success this year. So talk about what you expect to see on Friday night and what are some of the things you're going to have to carry out in order to create that same success from last season.
Well, ball games matter now. So we got a couple tune-up games. It's great to win those, but now it matters.
5 of your next 8 are regional games in the year.
And we're kind of lucky. We got a region, non-region, region, non-region. It just basically goes until we're done. We got a pretty important one this week. Jellico is going to be a much improved team. They've got a couple players back that they did not have last year. Both are in the backfield. Number 9, Trey Jefferson, and number 8, Caden Rose are 2 pretty dynamic players with the ball in their hands. And and those are going to be pretty key for us to stop them both offensively and defensively. Caden's probably their best defensive player at safety. He comes downhill really well for the run game, and they've played pretty well defensively the last 2 games. They've struggled a bit offensively, but their defense has made up for it. They did a great job. First week with a win, they forced 7 turnovers in their first win against Lynn Camp. Struggled to get the ball in the end zone, but they did enough to win that one. And then last week, it was hard to get momentum, kind of like our game. It's their game got stopped and go stop and go for them. So I would imagine that's hard to get anything going offensively there. But their defense is pretty solid, and their offense is going to have to come out and play well.
What formation do you expect to see on defense? Are they an odd front or an even front?
They're primarily an odd front, but like what we talked about last week, the way we run our offense, teams they're going to have to adjust.
Yeah.
If they stay in a 3-4, I mean, we're going to be running the ball right through the B gaps. So they're either going to have to put somebody down, have to plus or minus their front. They can still base out of a 3-4, but they just kind of have to move their guys around a little bit just to adjust. And then that's where we're able to make. That's where Darnell comes in, because he makes really good reads there at quarterback. So kind of putting us in the right spot.
It's usually a question I like to ask each week is what formation do you expect to see on defense? But with your team, it's kind of a benefit to where you don't really have to worry about that, because the sets that you run, they kind of have to adjust to you,
yes,
or they're going to be in trouble because you're always going to have a man that's probably going to be open somewhere downfield.
Yeah, so that's kind of the big thing. We want to force coaches to adjust to us. We want to dictate what the opponents are doing. That's kind of our mindset. So defensively, we want to dictate what they're going to be in. So it's easier for our kids to conceptualize it. So it's pretty much we see the same thing every week.
Yeah.
And our rules are rules. It's either we're going to get basically what we call an over front, a 9-5-3 technique all to one side. Basically the B, C, and D gaps are covered. And that's essentially we get that, or we're going to get some sort of crazy front that we've not, like it's a made up front, so that nobody in football has ever seen before, and that's been Coach Vaughn's experience everywhere he's been with this offense. Is kind of our experience last year, because this offense is not too far off of what we've been in the past, so we've kind of already seen that so far. But there's some wrinkles in this one that's quite a bit different than what we've done.
Last year's game came down to the wire, too. Last year's game was one that you could probably consider a classic, because it was back and forth scoring. You really didn't know who was going to come out on top. You scored that touchdown late in the fourth, and then Yeshua had that big stop on that catch along the sideline in the fourth quarter. You can probably expect a big game out of him this year, because, as you say, that's something 3 does. Just show up in big-time moments. Who are some other leaders that you're really going to have to let know that they need to step up in a game like this?
Of course, Jake's going to have a big night. He's played well at safety. He's played well at receiver and at wingback position. Then Grayson is able to give us some things there as well. So we're relying on those guys pretty heavily.
And one thing that I've wanted to kind of talk about a little bit was the switch at quarterback. Is that something that you're kind of going to stay with and use Thomas at quarterback a little bit? Because I know that this was his first start in week 2, so are you kind of going to lead with him going forward?
Thomas is our quarterback moving forward.
Okay.
Grayson is way too dynamic with the football, and he gets limited at quarterback because it's hard to get him in space at quarterback. So we're trying to figure out ways to get Grayson the ball in space, and that slot receiver. I mean, he was our leading receiver 2 years ago, so he's not unfamiliar playing receiver anyway, but now he's able to catch the ball and be able to make somebody miss. And because, I mean, even during the West Greene game, when he got out on the edge, and he makes people miss all over the place. And now he's in a position to be able to do that, and that happened on that touchdown last week. So he's another guy that's going to have another big game, because he can make people miss. He can make the big plays out there.
All right, into the interview. Same question. 3 keys to the game. We switched them up a little bit last week. It's not the same 3. It's not the same 3 that it had been the last 2 years. You've got not a new 3, but you've got a new one in there instead of those. What are they?
That new one was huge for this week. It's focusing on details. That's been as we start to get older and we can start focusing on those little minor details is what difference in being able to pitch a shutout, because that detail on that fourth and goal really
Correct.
mattered because we were lined up correctly, and the detail of trying to jump the count was a big one. And then we got to have a relentless effort. That's one of our mottos, is relentless, and we can overcome about anything with physicality, relentless effort, and then at some point, playmakers got to make plays.
That's correct. You expect to see that this week also. Big game against Jellico. They'll be traveling down to play the Huskies on the Tundra for the second year in a row. It'll be your first Region 1A game of the season. Hopefully you get a little bit of a winning streak going now. Pick up another win in week 2, get it to going 2, push it up to 3.
Our goal is to go 1-0 this week.
That's 1-0 every week, and soon enough you'll start to build a winning streak together. But Coach, best of luck this week against the Blue Devils. Thank you for sitting down with me again this week.
Appreciate
Thank you all for watching this week's edition of the Eric Tilson Show. Look forward to seeing you next time here on Grassroots Media.